Have you ever wanted to grow melons but weren't sure how to get started, or you just want to know more about melons in general? In this video, I'm going to show you how to sow and grow melons in your own garden. Hi, I'm Sean from Spoken Garden, and my wife Allison and I are partnering with Eden Brothers to help you in your garden today. We want to help you become a better gardener and grow your best flower and vegetable crop yet. So let's talk about melons. Now, before I show you how to sow these seeds, there's a couple things I'd like you to know. Melons are considered an annual fruiting crop, and they're hardy in zones 2 through 10. They're considered a warm season crop as well, meaning they'll grow and fruit during the warmer times of year, basically through the summer and into the fall, but then not during the cooler times of year. Now, melons are botanically known as Cucumis mellow, and most melons in general will take anywhere after planting 80 to 100 days to harvest, depending on which variety you're growing. Now, we'll be sowing honey rock melon seed today, which is an AAS winner and is an open pollinated heirloom variety. Most melons, including honey rock, like to grow in full sun locations with at least 6 hours of full sunlight, and they have average water needs. Melons in general like to grow in well-draining, nutrient-rich soil that is really high in organic matter. Now, well-draining soil is really important because most melon cultivars are still susceptible to what's called fusarium wilt. Fortunately though, honey rock is resistant to this fusarium wilt. Now, for this cultivar, you can expect to have harvestable melons in anywhere from 60 to 90 days after germination. This melon variety is a heavy producer and it grows mainly larger sized melons. This variety also is easy to maintain, is fast growing, and has a vining form. Honey rock has a sweet tropical honey flavor, and each melon can get up to about 7 pounds in weight. Honey rock grow really well in containers, in culinary gardens, and on trellises. You can enjoy honey melons in a lot of different ways, including fresh slices, in your salads, you can use them in smoothies, you can also freeze them into slices and into little balls. Now, fun companion plants to grow with your melons include marigolds, nasturtiums, beans, and a lot of other plants. Make sure to avoid planting your melon plants with other cucumber family plants because they will attract similar or the same kind of pests, and you don't want them feeding on or damaging your melon. Sowing melon seeds indoors or outdoors is super easy. If you're going to sow them indoors, make sure to sow them 3 to 4 weeks before your average last frost date in the spring. If you're sowing directly outdoors in your garden, make sure that your average daily temperature is at or above 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Otherwise, they won't germinate as well or at all. All right, let's sow some seeds. We're going to show you how to sow these seeds indoors first. And what you'll need is some type of seed starting soil, maybe even some potting soil, or you could use a garden type of soil, anything that has fine particle sizes in it. You don't want a coarse soil size. Now, these seeds need to be planted 1 inch deep, and so we've already pre-moistened our soil, and we would recommend that you do that. Now, to measure down and get that 1 inch depth, we're going to use our favorite seed sowing tool, our Diby XL, and we're going to go to this ring right here, and we'll just make each hole in each one of these cells. And then what we can do is we'll just take our seeds out here, and we can plop down about 2 or 3 seeds in each hole, and that'll help us get at least 1 or more healthy seedlings out of each cell here. And then we'll show you what to do later once these start to germinate and what you need to do for that. So there we go. Now that we have all the seeds in the hole, let's bury them and get them covered up. And the last step is to water these in so the soil is nice and tight and moist around those seeds and we get good germination. Now, your seeds will germinate anywhere between 7 and 10 days, and they'll germinate best if the soil temperature is kept between 70 and 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Once your seedlings have grown at least 2 sets of true leaves and the outdoor temperature is consistently above 70 degrees Fahrenheit, you can think about transplanting them out into your garden. But you want to especially be careful at this point because you want to harden your seedlings off before you transplant them out into your garden. And this is a process where over a 2-week span, you'll take your seedlings outside for an hour or 2 at the start of the 2 weeks, and then progressively keep them outside longer each day, where at the end of the 2 weeks, you'll have them outside through the whole day and through those nights, and then they'll be fully acclimated to your garden. All right, our seedlings have been hardened off. They're ready to be transplanted outside. Now, as I said before, you can grow these out in ground beds, raised beds, or in containers. Wherever you're growing them, you want to make sure that the soil is nice and loose and it's full of lots of organic matter. Now, planting out in the garden beds or in a raised bed, make sure to loosen up and break up any of that soil at least 1 foot down and 2 feet out from that planting hole for each plant, because you want to give them some nice loose soil to start growing into. We're going to be transplanting our seedlings into this container and it's already got container soil in it. It's got potting soil, so it's already loosened up, so we don't have to do that. Planting in this container, we're only going to be able to put one of these seedlings in this container because your plants need to be spaced, even the seedlings, they need to be spaced 2 to 3 feet apart. Now, if you're growing these in rows, you want to make sure that they also have 6 to 8 feet apart from those rows, and the plants still need to be spaced 2 to 3 feet apart. In any of those scenarios, you want to plant your plants on a mound or in a mound. And what mounding does for each one of the plants is it retains heat from the sun over all the days where it's growing, and it helps develop those plant roots and help the plant become really healthy and established faster. When transplanting any seedlings, including melon seedlings, you want to match the soil level of the seedling here in this little cell tray to the soil level where it's going to be planted at. You don't want to plant it too deep or too high because that can lead to other problems later on while it's growing. So we're gonna tenderly, slowly pull this seedling out of its cell tray, and we're gonna use our Diby XL, the transplanting side of the tool, to get that hole open and get that seedling down in there, matching that soil level there. And we'll just tamp that down. Make sure to water all the soil around it, not only next to the seedling, but around it too, so it has nice moist soil to grow into and get established faster. Now, to sow your seeds outdoors, you can use a lot of different soils, including seed starting mix, regular garden soil mixes from your local nursery, potting soil, just something that has a lot of organic matter and has fine particulates. Mound up the soil so it retains more heat from the sun, so you have better germination and it helps those plants grow faster and establish faster. Mounding will also help move water away from the plant, so it helps prevent root rot. Now, if you're sowing your seeds and growing your melon plants in a really hot, dry area, reverse the mound so it's down into an indent, so it helps collect water, retain that water, and keep the plant actually cooler in those really hot, high temperatures. So like I said before, we're gonna plant in this container, and it's got garden soil, it's got potting mix already in it, so we don't need to loosen it up. We've already made our mound. What we need to do is sow the seeds at a 1-inch depth, and they need to be 2 to 3 feet spaced out, so we're only going to be able to plant one seed in this container. So I'm going to use our Diby XL at this ring spot right here, which is 1-inch depth, and I'm just going to make my planting hole. We'll drop 2 to 3 seeds into this planting hole so we have some good options for different seedlings to choose from to actually grow from here. And then we'll cover this back up, pat that down so it's nice and firm. And our last step is to water these in. So your seeds should germinate anywhere from 7 to 10 days. And once your seeds come up, let them grow up to about their 4th or 5th true pair of leaves. And then what you'll do is you'll pick the most robust, strongest looking, biggest looking plant, and you'll thin out the other 2 that possibly come up with it, that germinate with it, with just some scissors. Just cut them off right at the ground level, and then your plants won't be competing with each other, and you'll have chosen your best plant. If you're planting these in rows, make sure to plant the plants not only 2 to 3 feet apart, but your rows need to be 6 to 8 feet apart. It's really important for spacing and having all that room to grow. If you want to have a continual harvest of melons over the summer, make sure to sow your seeds 2 to 3 weeks apart. In the weeks and months ahead, you'll need to make sure that your melon plants get lots of sun and lots of water. Any type of stress will slow down the growth of your plants, and it will actually delay the flowering and fruit production of your melon plants. Stress can also impact how much sugar is produced in your melons, so the more stress your plants go through, the less sweeter they're going to taste. So your melon plants will need their flowers pollinated, so make sure that the area around your melons where you're growing them is super bee friendly. You want to encourage that. You can do this by planting other pollinator attracting plants like zinnias, nasturtiums, marigolds, and many others. Have shallow water sources around your garden, and be sure not to use any insecticides or general use pesticides around your garden. Melons have what is considered average water needs, so make sure they're not lacking any water so you don't run into any of those stress issues and what comes of that, like I talked about before. You want to make sure that that soil is just consistently moist throughout the whole growing season. Now, the best way to water your melon plants and a lot of other types of vegetable and flower plants is by drip irrigation systems or soaker hoses. The more you water the plants down near the soil level and not on top of the plants or over the top of the plants, the less diseases you're going to have with those plants and the less problems growing them you'll have. Now, along with watering your plants on a regular basis with those average water needs, you also want to fertilize them on a regular basis. And you can just use a well-balanced fertilizer of 555 or 222. You don't want to use a fertilizer that's really high in nitrogen because this will delay flowering and it'll just encourage the plant to produce more leaves and not flowers. And also in the next weeks and months to come, make sure to keep up the weeding around your plants. You don't want them competing with other plants for nutrients, water, and growing area. A really fun and good way to keep up with the weeding is to mulch around your plants. And you can put down about a 2 to 4 inch layer of any type of mulch that you like. We like to use wood chip, and that'll really help not only keep the weeds at bay, but it'll also help keep the moisture down in the soil longer and help for the plant to take up that moisture on a more regular basis. Make sure to also remove any dead or diseased leaves around your plants and the whole growing area, because you'll keep your incidence of pests and diseases low. To keep critters and other pests away from your melons, you can take a piece of cardboard or plywood and put it right underneath and set your melon on top of that, and that'll help during the ripening process and keep that damage to a minimum. Melons are susceptible to different bacterial, fungal, and viral diseases, including powdery mildew, fusarium rot, and bacterial blight. Your melon plants are also susceptible to aphids, spider mites, cucumber beetles, and cutworms. So make sure to consult your extension agency in your county to make sure that you're up to date and aware of all the different pests and diseases that your melons and your other plants are susceptible to. You can expect to harvest your honey rock melons in 60 to 90 days after germination. Look for the rind or the fruit skin color to change, turning from green to a yellow or tan color. Also, each melon will have a sweet fragrance to it and have a slightly soft stem end. As the melons mature, they require less water to ripen properly. Cutting back on watering before harvest allows the plants to focus its energy on concentrating sugars in the fruit. Begin by reducing watering. As the melons begin to show signs of ripening, such as green between the netting starting to turn tan or yellow, the melons smelling good, or tendrils, the vines connecting the melons to the plant, start drying out. Gradually reduce the frequency and amount of water you provide in the days leading up to that harvest. Now you can harvest the melons in the early morning after watering when the plants are least stressed. Gently pull each fruit from the vine. Do not wait for each melon to fall off by itself. By then it's too late. You can store the melons for up to 5 days in a refrigerator at 40 degrees Fahrenheit and at 90 to 95% humidity. Now, if you need more vegetable or flower planting or growing tips, you can always go to EdenBrothers.com and check out their planting guides. And we hope this video was helpful for you to grow melons in your own garden by seed. And from us at Spoken Garden and Eden Brothers, thank you so much for watching.